Hey folks, Moose here. Time to talk about another lens. Let's talk about the 70-200 VR2 lens. Let's just cut to the chase, okay, get it over with. 70-200 VR2 versus the 70-200, the original. In my opinion, this lens is a tad sharper. It is a tad smaller, weighs a tad less. So if you're into tads, this is the lens for you, okay? But really, honestly, the original 70-200 was a sharp lens. It was a beautiful lens. Look at Joe McNally's images. They're wickedly sharp. Can't ask for more from a lens. Well, this one's a tad sharper. Doesn't mean a whole lot, okay? So if you have the extra money and you want the extra little bit of closer focusing, the faster AFS, which is a tad faster, a tad sharper, it's a great investment. That's the bottom line. Is this a tool for your photography? Let's talk about tools. That's important. First and foremost, I think most people use this lens totally incorrectly. And what do I mean by that? Well, tend to plant their feet. They don't move. They let the lens do all the walking for them. They zoom the lens. What's the problem with that? It's 70-200 millimeters. That's a varying angle of view. That's an angle of view you should be putting to work for your photography. So 70 millimeter, if you think you need 70 millimeter, zoom to 70 and then physically move or zoom with your feet to get the image size and composition you want in the frame. That's making the most of this lens. That's what's going to make your images stand out. Next thing about this lens, it's f2.8, okay? That minimum focusing distance, or depth of field, excuse me, at 200 millimeter is killer. That's just a small slice that's going to be in focus. You're photographing somebody, you focus on their eye at 2.8, 200 millimeter, you have such a narrow depth of field. If they're beautiful eyes, they're just going to come snapping out in the picture. That's making the most of this tool. Okay, and that is exactly what this is. It's a tool. Why have I added to my camera bag? I'm doing a lot of aviation photography now, doing more and more what's called air-to-air photography, shooting from one plane to another plane when you're up in the air. This is the great lens for that. Now this lens shade, okay, when you're shooting air-to-air, you take it off. Why? Because the Airstream will take it off. Okay, it's not on here, you know, you'll see a lot of people, they put gaffer's tape on here. There's a reason for it, okay? It's not really secure. Now, it is a VR2. That means that when you put this on a tripod, you can leave the VR on. You have the original 7200, you probably were in the habit of turning the VR off. This one, leave the VR on. VR2 means it has the AM, MA, M switch. I'm not a big AM fan. I do like the MA switch, so I use that. It means I can manually focus while I'm auto-focusing. Last thing I want to talk about is the fact that this tripod collar, when I'm hand-holding, tripod collar, okay, I put it on top. Gives me a nice, clean surface in which for the lens to rest in my hand. Now I have the Really Right Stuff foot. Very simple, easy to replace. I have the Arca Swiss plate, everything built into it. It's hollowed out so it's lighter, saves me some weight. That's very important. The one thing I want to touch on, because it's been a real common thing lately, is teleconverters and this lens. I never use teleconverters with this lens. Why? It's not because of optical results. It's because if I want something longer, I'm going to go get that out of my camera bag. I'm going to get the 200 or 400, for example, which is commonly what I'm going to use when this is not long enough. This goes 70-200, 200 or 400, the next lens, that's what I'm going to use. Can you use teleconverter? You bet. But it's not what I prefer, okay? That's a personal preference. It has nothing to do with image quality or anything else. It's just the way that Moose likes to go out and shoot. 77 in front, so it's the same filter size as 24-70, the 14-24, 24-70, 70-200, 3 killer lenses. Those 3 lenses covers from 14 millimeter to 200 at f2.8. It's a great kit. That's a 70-200. If you're into tads, the lens for you. Thanks for coming by.